All right, free agency tier list time. I thought it'd be fun. Let's go through the big moves that were made and just talk about my thoughts on them. So these are what I kind of arbitrarily decided are some of the biggest moves that have been made so far this free agency period. I had a little bit of trouble getting some of the images on there, so it's possible I actually missed one or two because of that. So apologies if there's a big move that I did not talk about. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the list. 5 categories are massive W, well done, still good, I get it, but that's if it's a move that I understand, but just not the move that I would have made personally. And then you did what? Let's just get into the list. It kind of sounds a little bit like Jeopardy categories, but let's get into it. Jonathan Grenard to the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think this was an overpay or anything. I am a little concerned about kind of the 1 year of production. I think it's a fine move. I'm a little confused about exactly what their goal is with this signing, but I don't know. I think let's start off on more of a positive note. Let's go still good, right? And for Bryce Huff, it's kind of I think, very similar move, actually. I think they're similar players, him and Grenard. Similar contracts were given out, and, I think for the Eagles, he's a replacement for Reddick. It's what they want to do. You could argue it's more well done or massive W, but again, it is kind of 1 year of production, so I'm not going to go too crazy about that. The next one is Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley signs with the Tennessee Titans, and a lot of people were criticizing this move because of how much they gave up for Calvin Ridley, and it's fair. They gave up a lot. No one's going to deny that. I think the Titans needed a receiver, though, so I'm going to actually still say it's a fine move. I'm usually okay with overpaying for wide receivers, right? Everyone made fun of the Jacksonville Jaguars for overpaying Christian Kirk, and while it still was an overpay, it's like, well, help them develop their young quarterback. So even if Will Levis isn't the guy, well, then they're going to get another quarterback, and you have to develop him. So I'm fine with it, but I get why some people are upset about it. The Patrick Queen move, I'm going massive W here. I think Patrick Queen's really good. I think he's maybe underrated in this scenario. I think he's really good, and the contract was not a huge contract. So maybe people just view Patrick Queen not as strongly as I do. I don't know, but I was a big fan of that one. Bobby Wagner was a confusing one. I guess I'll say still good. Like, reasonable deal for Bobby Wagner. I'm just surprised, like, why did Washington do it? Is kind of the question, but I guess they wanted to improve their defense. You know what? I'm arguing with myself in my head as I'm speaking out loud. I'm going to actually go up to well done. And my logic is they wanted to build sort of the, a competitive mindset. They don't want to, want to get the loser culture out of there. And for someone like Bobby Wagner, he can help do that. He should be a good player for them for a year or two before retiring is my expectation. It's a good contract. He's playing with Dan Quinn, who, obviously they won a Super Bowl together. So yeah, I think the team is still a bit of a weird fit. I'm surprised he said yes, is I guess my question, but like, sure, why not? Get a good linebacker for not that much money. I'll say well done. Christian Kirk, so I think there's going to be people who literally would put him in every single tier. I think everyone would, there's some people who would do that. I'm putting it into I get it, but ... which really is maybe I need to rename the tier because it's really more of a not what I would have done is kind of the way I view it, but I don't think it's a bad move, and I do understand your logic. It's just not what I would have done. Because, like, listen, Kirk is going to be a hell of a lot better than whoever else they were throwing out there. There's no denying that. But I do think there is a line between Desmond Ridder and paying $40 million for Christian Kirk. Like, I don't think those are your only two moves. I do wonder with a move like this, like, I think they'll probably be a playoff team. Like, I think I would probably put them as the favorites to win that division at this point. But, like, again, I've done this spiel a million times, but it's usually hard to build an incredibly competitive roster with a guy who, is getting paid $40 million, who maybe isn't a $40 million quarterback. That's just how it is. He's a good quarterback. He'll help him out. It's just not the move I would have made. Devin White, it's going to be another I get it, but like the idea is it's a flyer, and I think, it was initially reported $7.5 million, but I think it's only like, $4 million of that plus a few million in incentives, which is also worth noting. But he could hit those incentives. If he hits those incentives, I'm sure the Eagles will like that he hit those incentives. I think people are still kind of relying though on Devin White's wow factor, maybe his highlights, not paying attention to the 5 times he blew a coverage right before it. All I'll say with the Devin White thing, Eagles fans who are excited, ask Buccaneers fans how they feel about losing Devin White. No one's very heartbroken. And people have Devin White's jersey and are still saying, yeah, it's time to move on. So, it is what it is. But, it's not a terrible flyer, though. It could work out. There's just, I'm not sure if I would feel great about it as, I'm not sure how good I feel about him being good right away. That's just all how I view it. And there's kind of a low floor here. The Eagles are saying, well, hey, can't be worse than what we have out there. You didn't see him against Baltimore last year. That's all I have to say. But let's, move on. DJ Reader, massive W for me. Huge fan of this. DJ Reader, really underrated move. Signs with the Lions. He's a really good run-stuffing interior defensive lineman. It's a move people aren't really talking about. Didn't get paid a ton. And, sure, the Lions' run-stuffing isn't exactly their biggest concern, but he can help out in the pass rush game. And still, why not be better at run-stuffing? So they needed to help out their defense. That was a big one. And Carlton Davis, I'm going to go well done here. I think that the fact that he is coming off a down season and does have some injury concerns, can't quite put it that much higher, but, he at his, not even at his best in Tampa Bay, at his most normal has been a, solid number 1 corner. If you can get that for just a 3rd round pick, that could be a massive win. There's some risk factor there, but I'm a fan of it. Then we go to Mike Williams. Mike Williams signs with the Jets, which is another massive win for me. Actually, no, I'm going to bring it down just to well done, just because, again, the injury concerns. But, this is exactly what the Jets had to do. The Jets had to pay attention to the wide receiver category. I was worried once they signed their tackles, which we'll get to one of those in a second, that's all they were going to do. But I think giving Rodgers another option, yeah, the offensive line was bad last year. Yeah, Zach Wilson was bad last year. That's not the only reason the offense sucked last year. So addressing that, really smart football, in my opinion. Christian Wilkins. So they gave Wilkins a lot of money. And personally, I'm not always crazy about giving an interior defensive lineman that much money. But I'm still going to put it in these... I'm in between I get it, but and still good. I don't know, whatever. There's a lot of Raiders fans on this channel, so I'll give them the edge because I'm, debating between them. Maybe if it was a team I didn't like, I'd put them lower, but no, I'm kidding, of course. But I think I'm going to keep it in still good, just because, I get what they're doing. I get what they're doing. They're trying to create a team that can stop Mahomes, basically, and he totally fits the Raiders' mindset. You're not going to have to teach him the Mahomes rules. I'm sure he already knows them, right? He's a good player for them. I think he's going to do exactly what they pay for. Fundamentally, team building philosophy, it's not the move I would have made. So I probably should dock it a little bit lower, but that's just kind of how I view it. Derrick Henry, this is a well done for me. I still am a little bit concerned about an old running back paying him to a deal, but it's not a massive deal either, which is kind of a big part of it. It's not like they're paying him for 5 years or something like that. They can get out of this pretty easily if he does fall off a cliff. Sure, he wasn't not coming off his best statistical season, but again, Derrick Henry not having his best season is still better than most guys' career years. So yeah, I'm going to put it in well done. The Gardner Minshew move, again, I think it's good. I'm interested in what he's going to do. I think a lot of Raiders fans are saying they still need to draft a guy. It shouldn't just be Minshew and O'Connell. But I do think that Minshew could start for them and could, again, they're trying to be competitive. If you're trying to be competitive, this is a move you can make for sure. Saquon Barkley is interesting. So Barkley got a lot of criticism when he was signed, which is weird because people didn't really have the same critiques with some other running backs. And I think part of the reasoning is the Eagles did have a lot of issues last year, specifically defensive issues. I think it's going to help out their team, though. And I think that, again, people kind of view this, we have other weaknesses. Well, maybe they couldn't find a guy for that money that, maybe it didn't work out. I don't know. I'll put it in still good. I don't have an issue with it. I do agree that probably paying a running back might not be the best strategy for where they're at right now, but if you're going to pay a running back, Saquon's not a bad guy to pay. But again, there is the injury concern and all that. And again, paying a running back in general, you never know when they're going to fall off a cliff, but there's upside here. So I'll put it in, I think still good feels fair for me now. Next up is the Josh Jacobs signing, which I don't know. I think it's fine. I think I'm still going to put it in still good for me. the guy's only 26, which just breaks my brain. Feels like he's like 40, but no, only 26 years old. Does have some wear and tear on his body. Played a lot of snaps over the years, which in some ways is good. He doesn't get hurt, but also it's not like he's never ever going to get hurt. I don't know. Paying a running back, I'm usually not going to be as high on as the general public is. We can just agree to disagree there. Joe Mixon is another interesting aspect here. So, originally he was going to be cut. The Texans said, well, hey, we'll actually take him for that contract. We'll take on that contract. Give it to us. So it's a 1-year deal. I think it's a pretty good deal. I actually would go as far as to say well done, even as someone who doesn't love running back contracts, because they're not giving him a big deal. It's just 1 year, so they can get out of it if they don't like it. And I think he should help out. I think he should be a solid, at the very least, a good starting running back with some upside for more than that. So, yeah, well done for me by the Texans. Tyron Smith is another guy that, signing Tyron Smith is, I think, a massive W. I think getting an elite left tackle, sure, he's had injury concerns, but I think those are a bit overblown. Like, he has still played, it seems like he is good to miss a couple games every year, but he's only really had those 2 years that he's missed significant playing time in recent history, which is still more than your average guy. Like, I'm not saying there's no reason those injury concerns exist, but the upside of getting an elite tackle, and some of his contract is based on how much he plays, so if he does miss time, it's not the end of the world. I think it's a massive win for them because they really needed to address that position. Deontay Johnson. So I'm taking this from the Panthers' perspective. I guess I could argue, I didn't love it from the Steelers' perspective. From the Panthers' perspective, I think this is going to be well done. I don't know if he's quite good enough to get in the massive W category, but he's a good player. They did not have to trade much to get him. They had the cap space to do it. This was a smart move by them. It just was. I think that, again, roles are different, right? What teams are trying to do are different. They have different goals. The Panthers are solely just trying to build around Bryce Young. Give him some talent so you can evaluate him. And if he sucks with talent, well, then he sucks at least and can move on. That's what adding Deontay Johnson could do. I'm not saying he's the only guy. Like, I still think they need to add in the receiver category, but he's going a long way at the very least. So, yeah, well done there. Xavier McKinney to the Packers. So, again, McKinney, safety, who's really had the one really good year, this contract year with the Giants. But I think he's good, especially given the situation around him, having that good year. I'm going to put it in well done. Really good job to make sure that you address a position that you needed to address. So, and he should be a good player for them. So, interested in seeing how that works out. But, yeah, well done there. Keenan Allen to the Bears, which is another massive W. Again, situation matters. Like, I think Keenan Allen's really good. Like, I think Keenan Allen's debatably a top 10 wide receiver in football when healthy. Has his injury history, that is what it is, but he's really good. And getting a guy of that caliber for basically nothing other than taking on the contract, yeah, for the Bears who need to not make the same mistake they made with Fields, getting a good situation around Allen, that's a massive W for me. Marquise Brown is going to be another well-done situation for me. I think that, again, cheap 1-year deal. I don't know if it's going to be a long-term thing or what. I think some people are already jumping to the Andy Reid is going to make him a superstar type stuff. They're going to have a ton of great things together. I don't know if that's exactly how things have worked out. That's not how it always works out. But I do think Andy Reid, it's a perfect fit, and I think he'll be really good for them. So I'm interested in seeing how all of that works out. But yeah, that was a good move. Brian Burns. So this was my kind of other hot take, I guess, is I did not love the Giants giving Brian Burns $30 million a year. I think he's a good player, but I don't know. Is Brian Burns better than Jonathan Grenard? Yeah, I would say so, but I don't think that much better. And to give him that much more money for longer term, and you're trading to get him. Sorry, Giants fans. You did what? I don't love that move. I just don't. Again, I don't value the edge rush position as highly as other people do as well, so part of that is just a fundamental disagreement on how we view it. And again, I made a whole video explaining this in bigger detail on this channel, so search that out if you want to. But yeah, those are my thoughts there. And I still like Brian Burns as a player, but it's just the contract and the trade, not crazy about. Justin Fields. So again, Fields and Wilson, I'll take both from the Steelers' perspective. I'm going to say well done in both cases. I think this is two smart, well-done moves, not giving up a ton of draft capital. Again, Fields is on a rookie deal, but it's a first-year rookie deal. So you are paying him some money. But at the same time, they're not paying a ton of money, and they didn't give up a ton of draft capital to get 2 starting caliber quarterbacks. I think the question you can maybe have is what's the upside here? But it's certainly a lot better than what they had. And again, comparing this to the Kirk Cousins thing, while Kirk Cousins will give you more value, you're paying $40 million less for these guys. So that's kind of why I'm more of a fan of this. Finally, Danielle Hunter. I like Danielle Hunter. I think it's a good contract. I think, having him next to Will Anderson should be good. I'm going to put it in a well-done situation. So as a whole, again, free agency, usually teams are going to make smart moves. That's kind of the thing about this. And this is why when I do like a top winners list and people say, oh, why wasn't my team there? Well, because usually there's a lot of teams that make a lot of smart moves. So only 3 I weren't crazy about: the Devin White, Kirk Cousins, and Brian Burns move. And even I don't know, Devin White one, you could argue isn't even a big enough move. That's fine, honestly. I could put that up as still good. It's whatever. That's not a. There's no way that Devin White contract is going to hurt the Eagles, sink them or anything like that. It's just, that got some attention, so I included it on the list. Again, Kirk Cousins will probably help the Falcons make the playoffs, and Brian Burns will probably help the Giants steal some games. So even the bad moves still are going to help the team. I just think they could have helped the team more, if that makes sense. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.